I'm with Knoxville native and former WWE SmackDown Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. This is a huge honor for me. Thank you so much for joining us. So tell us about Bianca Belair.
Well, Bianca Belair is the EST of WWE. I call myself the strongest, the fastest, the roughest, the toughest, the quickest, the greatest, the best. I'm all about just striving to be the absolute best version of yourself inside and outside the ring.
You're a Knoxville native, born and raised here, right?
Right.
You graduated from Austin East High School.
So I went to Austin East High School, where I learned so much, and I'm so proud to be an alumni, a road runner. I always say I'm 2800 made, and so just being from Knoxville just instilled in so much pride in me.
After high school, you originally went to the University of South Carolina, correct? Tell us about your journey after high school, and you ran track there?
Yes, so in high school I ran track. I was a hurdler, and I earned a full track scholarship to University of South Carolina my freshman year. And, you know, coming from Tennessee and kind of being like the hometown success story of getting out of Knoxville and going to college, I didn't do as well at the University of South Carolina. I put so much pressure on myself. My identity was track and field. And just being away from home for the first time, I struggled at the University of South Carolina. I dealt with depression and eating disorders, and I just didn't perform very well. I had an identity crisis when it came to track. And so then I transferred to Texas A&M University, where I kind of was just running away from my problems, and I was dealing with the same things, and I still didn't perform very well. So I felt like I needed to get back to my roots and get back to a safe place. And for me, that was Knoxville. And that's what's amazing about Knoxville. It's just home, and it's the place where I always felt safe, and I was always just welcomed. So I came back home to the University of Tennessee, and no one else really wanted to give me a chance to run track anymore. And the coaches at the University of Tennessee, they welcomed me back. They gave me another chance. They redshirted me for a year. And so they gave me just a brand new start. And being back home, I felt safe, I felt loved, I felt welcomed. And they really just got me back going, gave me a brand new, fresh start. And so I started over at University of Tennessee. I became an All-American.
I was say it was everybody else's loss because you're an All-American, right?
Yeah. I eventually became an All-American, All-SEC hurdler. And I succeeded here. And I eventually graduated from the University of Tennessee. So it was a full circle for me.
That's awesome. How did you end up in WWE?
For me, my journey to WWE is a little unique. I wasn't really a hardcore wrestling fan. My brother was the one that watched WWE, and so I watched it a little bit with him growing up when we would fight over the remote, and he would win and I would watch WWE. But for the most part, I ran track, I did gymnastics, I was a collegiate hurdler, and after running track in college, I missed that competitive atmosphere. And so I found CrossFit. And CrossFit, that's when I fell in love with my muscles and my body, because I dealt with a lot of body dysmorphia and eating disorders. And I just blossomed in CrossFit. My personality came out. I came alive, and I started working out and coming out in competitions in colorful outfits, and I made all these elaborate outfits, and I would grab the microphone and I would talk to the audience. I just came alive. So Mark Henry, who is a Hall of Famer, right. He saw a video of me. He's contacted me, and he says, "You have everything that it takes to be a WWE superstar. You have the look, you have the charisma, you have the athletic ability, you're wearing wrestling gear, you don't even realize it." So he said, "I can get you a tryout, but that's all I can do for you. I can't get them to hire you, I can't get them to like you, but just go be yourself and you'll be fine." So for me, I feel like it was the perfect fit for me. I say that WWE, besides my husband, is my soulmate. It found me, and it took me 2 tryouts. My second tryout, I got hired in 2016. So it was kind of just the perfect fit. And once I found it, I had that feeling of, this is what I've been searching for. And I finally found it, and this is my purpose in life.
Were you living in Knoxville when you were hired? And then, so can you explain that process to folks that might not be familiar with what happens when someone signs with WWE?
So initially I was living in Florida. I was doing CrossFit.
Right.
Things just wouldn't pan out. I got injured in CrossFit, so I moved back to Tennessee again, to Knoxville. It's kind of like I always come back here. It's the safe place for me. And when I got my first tryout, I was living in Knoxville. The very first one was in Columbus, Ohio. It was actually a tryout in the middle of a WWE show, NXT show. In the intermission, they had us come out and do a tryout. It's not the normal type of tryout. And I actually did a tryout in front of a full audience. And for most people, they got very nervous, but for me, I loved it. I love being out there in front of an audience and they just drill us. But after the first one, they contacted me and said, hey, we want to bring you back to a real tryout, which is at the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, 2 or 3 days. The first day is just drills. They drill you, they test your stamina, they test your endurance, they see if you're coachable, they see if you're tough, if you can listen, and it's tough. I remember the first day being sore. I had never done any of this stuff before. Hitting the ropes, my back was bruised. I was hurt. I wasn't injured, but I was hurt. Right. And then the next day, the second day, same drills. The third day is promo day. So you have to get in front of everyone that's trying out, in front of all the coaches, and you have to cut a promo and show that you're comfortable talking in front of people. And I was so nervous. But my dad always pops in my head whenever I'm nervous. He always says it's okay to be nervous, just don't be scared. So I went up there and I talked in front of everyone, and it's a 3-day process, and then it takes about sometimes 3 to 6 months to hear back. And they contacted me and said that, hey, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. We're trying to find the perfect time to bring you in. And I think I started about 6 months later.
Then you moved to Orlando?
Then I moved to Orlando, and I started in the Performance Center. The first day I remember walking in and I had no idea what to expect. And the Performance Center is an amazing facility. At that time, it had about 6 different rings. You come in, you train every single day. You're learning. For me, I feel like I was playing catch up because I didn't really know the history of the business. I didn't really know much of anything. I didn't know what to expect. So that was really challenging for me. Usually, an athlete, I'm always able to pick up on things very quickly. There, I just had to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Learning things from scratch and not knowing what to expect. The bruises on your body that you get, the grind that goes into it. And just also for me learning that, when I watch WWE, you see 2 people in the ring wrestling, you think, oh, you just go in there, you fight each other. Right, yeah. There's so much more that goes into it. Right. It's the performance aspect. It's not just the competitive aspect. It's performing in front of a live audience. It's performing, connecting with people through the TV screen. But it's just so much that goes into it, and so much that I had to learn from the very beginning.
So a few years later, you're in the Royal Rumble. I was actually on that show. Okay. I was only in the ring for about 1.5 minutes. You were in significantly longer in your match. But nevertheless, you're in the Royal Rumble. You win the Royal Rumble. You're going to WrestleMania. You go to WrestleMania and you win the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship against Sasha Banks, top flight superstar. It's a huge deal. What was that journey like from being in NXT to a couple years later, you're one of the top superstars in the entire industry?
For me, it was a whirlwind, and it happened very quickly for me. I was in NXT for about 4 years, just learning the ropes and getting started. And then I got drafted to Raw and then SmackDown. And all of a sudden, I'm in the ring with 29 other women from Raw, NXT, SmackDown, and Legends for the Royal Rumble. To me, being the last one standing. And in that moment, I remember just celebrating and being happy that I was the last woman standing in the Royal Rumble almost an hour later. Right. And then it hit me once I looked to the left and I saw the Wrestlemania sign. And I was like, oh, I just won the Royal Rumble, but oh yeah, I'm also going to WrestleMania. And it blew my mind how quickly everything was happening, and realizing that I was going to WrestleMania. And then the road to WrestleMania was really cool because I was on the same posters as you and The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin and all these amazing legends, and me being on the same poster, and it blowing my mind that my life has taken this turn into now where I'm on the top at WrestleMania, main eventing with Sasha Banks. And it was another thing to not just be at WrestleMania and not just be main eventing WrestleMania, but making history with Sasha Banks at Wrestlemania, being the first 2 black women to have a main event at Wrestlemania, and me being the person in that position. You know, there's so much history in WWE and so many women that came before us that laid that foundation. So to be the woman there that's kind of just representing everyone, I wanted to just take that responsibility seriously. So then to walk out as SmackDown Women's Champion, it was just a whirlwind of so much happening so quickly, and just trying to grasp it all, but understanding how significant this was and how blessed I am to be in this position. So it's been wild, it's been crazy, but I'm so grateful, I'm so blessed, and to have my family at WrestleMania. And also, like, one of the most special things for me is being able to walk out in the ring and they announce me as Bianca Belair, and I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I think that's just like so cool to me.
Shifting gears for just a second, in addition to being an outstanding track and field performer, WWE Superstar champion, you have another great talent, which is fashion design. Tell us about that, please.
So fashion, I love fashion. My mom is like, so in the ring I wear sequins and lipsticks and different color lipsticks. I get that from my mom. As a kid, I used to always watch her. She wore sequins dresses all the time, and she wore lipstick all the time, so I get it from my mom. But in high school, I used to sew and make my own clothes, and for our track team, I made sure that we always dressed alike. I would design our outfits, so it kind of started there. And then going into CrossFit, you know, I would go to the competitions, and all the other girls would just have on sports bras and just regular workout clothes, shorts and tights. And I would come out there in outfits that I made with tutus and just sequins and bows, and that's what really made me stand out and got me into WWE. So fast forward to WWE, I just like to just make my own gear. I think it's an expression of who I am, and I want to throw everything I have into what I do. You know, I believe in working hard, and to me that's, when you work hard, it's on everything. It's whether you're working hard on your promo skills, whether you're working hard on your wrestling skills, being in the ring. For me, it's working hard on my appearance, and that's my gear. So it's a really cool feeling to be in the ring, standing across from someone and saying, like, I made my gear, what did you do? Or seeing an action figure, and the gear that I have on my action figure, I made. The gear that I see in the video games that I have on, I made. So I like to just express myself and use all of my talents and all of my abilities, and I love sewing, I love creating, I love fashion.
What's the best thing about being a WWE superstar?
For me, honestly, I know a lot of people would think that it's to come out and hear people chant and cheer your name. But for me, it's when I'm in the audience and I see little girls dressed like me, because it's just the impact that you have on people. You know, it's a legacy that we're starting, and I get to, when I have kids and grandkids, I can show them the legacy that I had and maybe inspire them, but know that I'm inspiring people and touching them. And I say this in all my interviews, but I think about my role models that I had when I was growing up and how they changed the trajectory of my life, and they made me realize what I could dream to be. And to think that I'm having that same impact on other people and seeing them stand on their feet and cheer and seeing the emotion come out of them, that's what's really, really cool to me. And that's my why. When I get tired or when I'm frustrated or I'm exhausted, I think about, you know, there's somebody out in the audience that might be seeing me for the first time, or someone who's turned on the TV screen and they need an outlet. They need someone to uplift them or inspire them. So to know that I have that impact on other people, that's what's most important to me.
It's hard to believe, seeing you now, that at one point in your life you were shy and sounds like you're introverted and had some serious challenges and obstacles that you overcame. What would you say to a young person who's facing challenges and obstacles in their own life? For me, I was a very shy kid. I'm still kind of naturally shy a little bit behind the scenes. But for me, that's what my character, Bianca Belair, the EST WWE, is all about. I used to be someone who was so introverted. I always downplayed myself, and now I found something that makes me feel alive, and now I don't downplay myself. I'm unapologetically me, and I'm going to live in that, and I'm going to walk in my greatness. And so to anyone out there that's struggling with anything, all I can say is just try. I'm a big advocate for trying. Don't be afraid to try. I feel like we live in a culture now where some people make fun of you for trying. Don't be afraid to fail, because you might fail multiple times, but eventually you will succeed. And
for me, the biggest advice I can give someone is if someone tells you that you can't, you just say, says who, not me. I say I can, so I will. So go out there and try, and don't be afraid to fail. Just keep trying and starting over every single day.
What's it like to be back in Knoxville?
I love coming back to Knoxville. This is home to me, and every time I come back to Knoxville, there's so much hometown love and just support. So I haven't been back in almost 2 years because of the pandemic, and I'm always usually home. Knoxville is my safe place. It's where I feel the most loved. So I'm so excited to be back here for SmackDown on Friday. I feel like it's just the ultimate homecoming. This is where it's my hometown, it's my childhood. I had my first so many firsts at Tom Black Track on the University of Tennessee on the campus, and to come back around is full circle again after I've accomplished so much in WWE. So just to be able to celebrate with my hometown, that's what I'm super excited about.
Well, Bianca, thank you so much for joining me here today. We are so proud of you and just so inspired by everything that you do. So thank you very much. Just keep on doing it, and best of luck in your career and everything that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.